The Software-Defined Data Center, NSX as a platform for micro-segmentation. Let's start by taking a look at the way that traffic is handled within a typical data center and some of the risks associated with the current model. This is a typical data center, and it is protected by a strong perimeter firewall. The data center supports typical three-tier applications, so incoming traffic moves through a web tier, to an application layer, through to a database, and back out again. This type of network movement is called north-south traffic and makes up only about 20% of the network traffic for a standard enterprise. The surprising fact is that 80% of today's security budgets are spent on the perimeter security that is monitoring this 20% segment of traffic. So where is the other 80%? That would be called east-west traffic, or traffic from VM to VM within the data center. In a typical enterprise, we see 70+% of traffic classified as east-west. Now let's talk about who has access to a typical data center. Full-time employees, contractors, third parties, potentially customers, students, or doctors, depending on the size and type of network. Many organizations have thousands of individuals with network access. So how do we lock down our data centers today? We see our customers adding physical firewalls to the interior of the data center to segment out the different applications, workloads, databases, users, and functional groups. We could call this a trust everyone network, because anyone with a credential can enter through our firewall and then, without significant effort, can either intentionally or inadvertently begin moving around between different servers. This hardware-centric approach to segmenting a network is antiquated and presents problems for IT organizations. The practice does not scale as quickly as needed to support the ever-growing needs of today's businesses. It's very costly, and increasingly we're learning that this hardware-based methodology is operationally infeasible. Managing firewall changes for a dynamic environment where VMs are constantly being created, moved, and destroyed is just challenging. In the end, something is always lost. Either there's a sacrifice in securing the data center or in the speed, agility, and manageability of the infrastructure itself. There has to be a better way. Now let's take a look at how we might leverage a software-defined data center to solve this problem. Here's the same data center, and we still have a robust set of firewalls for perimeter security. However, now we realize it's not enough. Recent security breaches at Target, Sony, Yahoo, and others provide proof positive that breaches can and do occur, despite the best firewall technology on the market. So how do we mitigate and limit the threat inside of our network? Back to the typical data center. Let's take, for example, a university with 1,000 VMs, where we're likely to have functional groups of servers encompassing applications, databases, workloads, etc. This particular university is also using the public cloud for some applications and has a VDI environment used by many of its professors. Inside this university, there are various user groups that require different levels of access. For example, HR may primarily require the use of applications tied to 50 VMs. Maybe finance requires use of a separate 100 VMs. And a group of academics or professors may need the use of about 150 VMs. Inherently, this means that HR does not need to access 95% of the virtual machines in our environment. So this question becomes, how do we provide secure access for HR to all of the applications that they need while not exposing them to the other 95% of the network that is not core to their job? And more importantly, how do we accomplish this in a dynamic environment where users come and go, applications change, and workloads move across servers, across data centers, and to and from the cloud. What if I told you that VMware has technology available today that allows us to place a software-based firewall on each one of these VMs in the data center? It will allow an organization, such as the university in our example, to segment out user groups, applications, databases, workloads, and security groups at a granular level, allowing IT and security teams to incorporate security policies and profiles that fit the needs of a workload and their users. Having this framework developed and deployed in software allows us to start to look at the life cycle of a workload in a new way. In this new model, we can apply security and networking policies at the inception of a workload. When the VM moves, the policies move with it, and this functionality can extend to VDI instances, digital workspaces, and to VMs in the public cloud. In contrast to the hardware-based model where we trust everyone, this new software-enabled platform could be called what Forrester Research refers to as zero trust. Policy-based controls allow IT teams to very quickly automate the deployment and management of workloads within their data center, ultimately providing a model that can operationalize speed, scale, and security across the entire extended data center. Some use cases include security and compliance for organizations of all shapes and sizes, micro-segmentation and additional security for VDI and mobile workspace environments, and finally, because these networks are built in software, the ability to snapshot and transport network resources has serious implications for lowering RTO in disaster recovery and business continuity situations. There are a whole host of use cases made available by simply leveraging a software-based model for segmenting, managing, and automating network and security functionality. Fundamentally, we can think of the difference between these two models as the difference between a castle and a hotel. Traditionally, castles have a strong perimeter security with high walls, moats, drawbridges, and armies surrounding the exterior of the building. However, once breached, a castle falls very, very quickly because there are almost no interior segments and defenses. By contrast, our new model is that of a hotel, where every room requires a unique key card for entry. Even if an intruder breaks down the front door of a hotel, they still will not have access to all of the rooms or the valuables inside of them. In today's complex security environment, it's crucial to leverage not only the perimeter security of a traditional castle, but also, and maybe even more importantly, an internal segmentation strategy based on software similar to that of a modern-day hotel. At this point, you may be saying to yourself, this sounds great, but what's next and how do we get started? Well, the first step is to do some analysis on current network and security setups. Do we know how much traffic flows east-west versus going to and from the internet? Would it be helpful to see a visualization of the dependencies and communication flows between VMs, applications, and workloads? Would we like to offer recommendations, ROI analysis, and a deployment plan for moving to a software-based micro-segmented architecture? If you answered yes to any of these questions, running a VMware network assessment utilizing vRealize Network Insight will provide you the tools and information to begin this transformation. Please contact your VMware Partner Manager or NSX specialist for more information and to get started today.